All right, shalom, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to begin by giving all praises, honor, glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rahakwadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of great millstone from the well. Peace, blessings, salutations to the full elect that is out there pushing, laboring, believing, and listening on to this truth with heart sincerity. I already made a blessed election be upon your houses. All right, the title and topic of this lesson is going to be, all right, don't sleep on a man of the Lord. All right, don't sleep on a man of the Lord. And for those of you that don't know, what that means, right? That's like a saying or a phrase, right? Don't sleep on that person, right? Don't count them out. Don't look at them as if they're less than, or they're not it. In other terms, man. And that's the main thing that we see. A lot of the times, especially here in Babylon, right? A lot of these people, a lot of these, these women, sleep on the man of the Lord, right? They don't truly see the value, that there is by, dealing with the man of the Lord, right? They say, high, quote unquote, high value men, right? That's what they refer to in the society so much, right? They say a high value man is, 6 feet tall, makes, over 100K, it has all these different criterias, right? To justify them being a high value man, right? But a true high value man, right, is a man of the Lord, right? A man that is serving Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai. That is a true high value man. All right. But yet these people, all right, are truly sleeping on the man of the Lord, right? And you can look at it like this, like, you'll have, these jakes, they were getting, played, or shitted on, by these females, and then now a few years go by, they're quote unquote successful or whatever the case may be. And now that Eve looking back like, dang, I played, I should have stayed. I should have stayed down. I should have not had slept on him. I should have took him seriously, whatever the case may have been. Right. And that's what it's going to be like, right, in these final days, man. Right. You're going to be seeing, Eve's flocking out of the woodworks trying to, cleave unto a man of the Lord, man. Right. It's because they don't see the true value of a man of the Lord in today's day and age, man. Right. They care about, having that fame, having a bag, being, popular, whatever the case it may be that they promote in the society. Right. That's what they'd rather flock to, man. Right. But this is Isaiah 13, chapter verse 12, and it reads, I will make a man more precious than fine gold, even a man than the golden wedge of Ophir. Right. It really ponder on that, man. A man shall be more precious than gold, man. Gold is one of the most precious metals, right? Precious materials, right? That you can find on the planet Earth, man. Right? And it says a man shall be more precious than that, man. Especially a man of the Lord. Okay? Right now, these people don't see the value, of a man of the Lord. That's why they scoff, they mock, they misuse, right? They offend, right, the men of the Lord. But down the line, when shit hits the fan, when Jacob's trouble pops off in this place, shit, when the kingdom is here, all right, all those people are going to regret that, man. All right. I love using this analogy. It's like Bitcoin, man. Nobody was thinking about Bitcoin back in, 04, 08, around that time when it was first coming around. They thought it was whatever. And now look, 2026, Bitcoin is, over $100,000 when it was, a dollar, a couple dollars. Right. They didn't see the value in it. Right. They didn't have that eyesight, right. That eyesight to really see, or be able to envision what they were dealing with, man. Right. That's why another thing, too, you got to be very mindful, right, of offending a man of the Lord, man. Right. Let me get this in Matthew 18:6. But whoso shall offend one of these little ones which believe in me, it were better for him that a millstone were hanged about his neck and that he were drowned in the depth of the sea. Right. You got to be very, very mindful when it comes down to dealing with men of the Lord, when it comes down to, how you, deal with the men of the Lord, how you speak to the men of the Lord, man, because the last thing you want to do is offend. All right. Because the scriptures read, as we just read, it says, if you offend one of the Lord's little ones, right, it's better that you have a millstone wrapped around your neck than thrown into the depths of the sea, man. That's a better outcome than it is to offend one of the Lord's little ones, man. But yet, we got people out here that's still scoffing, mocking, threatening, misusing the prophets. All right. Talking all different types of shit, whatever the case it may be. Right. Because these people don't truly understand or truly value or see the value in the man of the Lord. All right. This is Isaiah. Salakia. This is Isaiah, the 4th chapter, verse 1. And it reads, in that day 7 women shall take hold of one man, saying, we will eat our own bread and wear our own apparel. Only let us be called by thy name to take away our reproach. All right. So that time of Jacob's trouble, you're going to be seeing so many Eves running, trying to cleave unto a man of the Lord, man. When you look at movies like, Book of Eli, right? When you look at these different type of, apocalyptic scenario type movies, man, right? A lot of the times in a lot of these movies, you're seeing Eve cleaving unto a man, or Eve without a man. She's through in that time, right? So all that, all that, that conversation of being, monogamous only, I don't want my man having other women, Salakia, all right. All that, those different talks, that's going to be out the window, man. Eve going to just be trying to cleave. They're not going to care if you have another woman, man. Right. They're going to be with it because in that time, it's just going to go back to its, its natural course. You ain't going to be able to buck up to it. Because if you ain't with the program, then automatically what? Go on about your way. Right? But that whole concept of, nah, I can't share my man. Nah, I don't want my man having another woman. That's going to be out the window in the time of trouble, man. All right? Because if we go back into the ancient times and look at our forefathers, right? Many of our forefathers, it was a normalized thing, right, for them to have multiple wives. But in today's day and age, just this westernized mindset, it's demonized, right? It's quote unquote illegal. You can't even have illegally marry, 2 women. You can't have 2 wives in this place, man. Right? But that's gonna be out the window, man. Right? The whole ideology that is being pushed and promoted in Babylon is gonna be out the window. Because they gonna truly see the value of being with the man of the Lord. They're not gonna care, all right, if he got other women. They just trying to, be with him. All right, okay. This is Isaiah 32:2, and it reads, "A man shall be as a hiding place from the wind, and a covert from the tempest." As rivers of water in a dry place, as a shadow of a great rock in a weary land. All right. And that's another thing too, going back to that movie, a Book of Eli, right? When we seen that woman that was trying to set up Denzel, right, in that movie, right? He already knew out the gate because, she smelled like she was clean. She ain't, he knew it was a setup, man. Right? So a woman like that, she was doing that because she's like, hey, I need that hedge of protection from these men, because without it, I'm cooked out here, man. Right. So in that time of trouble, these people are truly going to be flocking to the men of the Lord because they're going to know they have protection. Right. These men are serving Yahweh Ba'Shem Al-Shai. They have the hedge of protection from Yahweh Ba'Shem Al-Shai upon them, man. And don't forget them spiritual powers. Right. When the Lord, starts giving that power unto his elect, man. That's going to have people flocking, man, because they're going to be seeing, out of this world power that they didn't even think existed, man. Things that they've seen in movies, things that they'll be like so far fetched, it would be hard for them to believe, man. Right. But when they see men of the Lord, flying, you know, doing types of having types of power that you would see in movies, right? They will be flocking to that, man. Going to show you why, again, don't sleep on a man of the Lord, man. It would behoove you to cleave unto a man of the Lord now rather than later. All right. Because that is where the true high value men are, is the men of the Lord. All right. Contrary to what this world, you know, promotes or wants to have you to believe. All right. That's where that true protection is going to come, man. All right. You know, you see it in all different types of these apocalyptic movies, man. You know, when the Eve is by herself, you know, doesn't have, you know, that man with her to give her that hedge of protection. She's cooked. All right. She's cooked. But a lot of these men, all right, in today's day and age, they going to be cooked too, man. Because the true protection is going to come from what? From the men of the Lord, man. All right. Because majority of these quote unquote men in today's day and age are not real men. Right? They're effeminate, man. All right. Look at that movie, Leave the World Behind. Once the power went out, Wi-Fi went out. What did that man say? He said, I'm a useless man. That's how a lot of these men are about to be in these final days, man. All right. But yet, they want to sleep on the men of the Lord. Best believe a man of the Lord ain't going to be in that type of spirit as that guy in that movie, Leave the World Behind. All right, because we have the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding these scriptures. We have the hedge of protection of Yahweh Ba'ashim al-Shah upon us, man. All right. So we going to be good in that time, man. Okay. Compared to the rest of these quote unquote men in this day and age, man. Because to be considered a real man, you know, I get this from the brother Gabar. To be considered a real man, you got to be serving the Lord, man. If you're not serving Yahweh Ba'ashim al-Shah, you are not a real man. Point blank, period. Whether you like that statement or not, that's the truth. All right. To be considered a real man, you have to be serving the Lord. All right. But hey, don't sleep on the man of the Lord, because our value is already high. These people just don't see it. But as we get closer to the end, the value is going to continually increase. All right. You know, but hey, I'm going to wrap it up with that. Lord willing, source edify to the elect of Israel. I'm going to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Ruach double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone Well. Peace, blessings, salutations to the full elect that is out there pushing, laboring, believing, and listening to his truth with our sincerity. Till next time, shalom, and a ball, Kwame Sharala, shalom.